everyone, my name is Gitika Gorthy, and today I'm very honored and excited to be interviewing a very special space champion whom I'm a huge fan of on Twitter, Miss Jasmine Singh. Miss Singh is an undergraduate student at Purdue University, where she's studying planetary science with a double major in atmospheric science. She has had a love for space ever since she was a little girl. She would look at the sky with so much wonder, envisioning humans living on the moon and watching down at us on Earth. Her research interests fall into the category of planetary atmospheres as well as astrobiology. She wants to be a part of the search for life out there that has always been her dream. And life always starts with a habitable atmosphere. She is currently doing research with Dr. Alexandria Johnson in the Johnson Cloud Lab studying planetary atmosphere. I'm so excited to be able to understand Miss Singh's journey into the space industry and all that she's already accomplished just as an undergraduate student. So welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time to inspire the next generation of aerospace leaders.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, before we get into understanding, what really was the aha moment for you getting into the industry, could you first share with us a little bit more about your typical day? Because I know you're a college student and you do so many internships. So could you just, describe a typical day if there is one?
Yeah, so I'm a senior right now. So last semester, I spent a lot of time applying to grad school and looking into what exactly I plan on doing after undergrad. So I could say that was part of my typical day last semester, was doing a lot of research on grad schools, working on finalizing, updating my resume, because I hadn't updated it since before my internship, so I had to add a lot of that, and I sent it to a lot of people to review. And so then I just spent a lot of time like perfecting the applications that I did. I didn't apply to a lot of schools just because I thought, I might as well focus heavily on the ones that I did choose rather than apply to so many and kind of have like the same old application. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that does that has the same old application, but for me, it was easier to apply to less schools. So that's what I did. But this semester, typical day would be going to my classes. So I don't really have that many classes this semester, so that's really good. And then afterwards, I either study or I have club activities. I'm a part of a lot of clubs. I'm in the Women in Science Club. I'm in the Meteorological Club. I'm a College of Science ambassador, and I'm an ambassador for my major. So, just talking to prospective students and trying to get them interested in, science and all that. So that's a big part of what I do, and who I am is definitely outreach, scientific outreach, and inspiring women to be in STEM. So yeah, that's probably a typical day. I'm pretty busy. The semester just started, but I'm already swamped. So, but that's really good because I like keeping myself busy.
That's awesome. And, I do have to say your strength is definitely communication and just reaching out to a lot of people because your tweets are so relatable. I know like a lot of people, when they look into the space industry, they're like, oh, it's so intimidating, or, oh, you have to be like this rocket scientist genius, or someone who's really probably not as social, someone who's just always studying all the time. And just to see how you're so involved in so many things beyond just your academics, I think speaks a lot. And, I'm just curious, how do you balance your schedule? And I know you're also an intern at NASA, or were an intern at NASA. So could you talk a little bit more about that experience as well?
Yeah, so I was an intern this past summer. Unfortunately, it was virtual due to the ongoing pandemic, but it was still the experience of a lifetime. I hope to have it again someday, hopefully this upcoming summer, but we'll see. But I started in June, early June, and ended like right before coming back to school for senior year. So I was pretty busy working 5 days a week. But my mentors were really chill. I had two mentors and another intern that was working on the same or similar project as me. And we met once or twice a week. And they would give us tasks, and then we would do them and keep up regular communication, if we encountered any problems or had any questions. And then, had our meetings and discussed what we found and what problems we encountered. And it led up, to the end of the internship where we gave a presentation. And obviously, I didn't say what my project was, but I worked on a climate model emulator. So it wasn't the actual climate model, but it simulated the climate model and was actually found to be more beneficial since it's a lot easier to run an emulator versus the actual climate model. So I worked on the GISS Model E climate model emulator for Earth, as well as the Rocky 3D emulator for exoplanets and potentially habitable exoplanets. So that was like more of my focus. I started off with the Earth one and then moved on to the exoplanet one since that aligns more with my interests. But that's what I worked on over the summer, and then it led up to a presentation, which was really nice. And everybody at NASA is super chill. They really want to see you succeed. And it's actually funny because most people that are in the leadership positions there, started off as interns too. So they were once in our shoes and want to see everybody succeed and hopefully, take over their position someday. So it was a really amazing experience, and I hope to do it again someday and even be able to visit a NASA center in person. That has been a dream for a really long time.
Yeah, I know. I can definitely relate with that. This past summer, there was an internship program for high school students. And so I was super excited to go to NASA Ames Research Center in person, but because of the pandemic, it was virtual. But it was still such an incredible experience. And then you can relate with it. What advice would you give for students who are applying for NASA internships? Because I know it's really competitive and super hard to get into. And I feel like they look at so many different factors. If there's anyone out there who's looking for internships, like what would be your number one advice?
I would definitely say, put everything you can on the application. Even if you don't think it's important, somebody might see it as useful. There's a lot of variety of internships, not just science and engineering. There's communication ones, outreach ones, all that, because there's so many different aspects of NASA that make it what it is. So definitely put yourself on that application and don't be afraid to get involved in as much as you can. Don't overwhelm yourself, but get involved in as much as you can, because they're not just looking at your technical experience or, job experience. They're looking at extracurriculars as well. That's definitely part of the application. So try to do things beyond, just strictly academic. So I'm involved in band. That's something that has always been, that's something that's always been near and dear to me since middle school. I play the flute, and for me, it's a way to kind of escape and do something different, use a different part of my brain versus doing math and science all day. And another piece of advice is, I usually tell people to look into other interests that are outside of science and engineering. I always tell people take classes that are different. You never know what you can find. There's different internships that are not just science and engineering, which I already said, and you never know what aspect of the space industry that you could contribute to, even if you're not strictly involved in the engineering aspect or the science aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a few things. I mean, one, I'm not musically talented, but it's so nice to see that you're into band. I think I tried strings for a few years, not for me, but there's so many different things you can do. I know I play basketball, so I guess it's a different outlet. But yeah, I think what you were saying was so important. Also, just considering that space is so interdisciplinary, which I think is the point that you're bringing up. You don't have to be like science or math major. You could also go into like communications or digital art, or there's just so many things you can do. So, thank you for bringing that point up.
Yeah, NASA needs a lot of people to be what it is. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that even if you're not directly a space-oriented major, you can still be there and contribute somehow.
Definitely. I like to say space is its own place. So literally every job you would need in the real world, you would need it just in the aerospace industry. So it's kind of like its own little world, which is awesome. And I know you're really interested in astrobiology, which is something that I was mentioning earlier. And, I'm curious because I feel like everyone's intrigued by astrobiology at some point in their life as a little kid or even growing up. So what's something in astrobiology that intrigues you the most, or maybe something that you think is overlooked in astrobiology research that you're really, intrigued by?
Yeah, I definitely think I've always been interested in it for, since I was a kid, and I just didn't know what the name of it was. I didn't know the name. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know the name Astrobio until college. But when I heard of it, I was like, yeah, this is what I've wanted to do since I was a kid. I just didn't know what it was called. I always lumped everything under astronomy, but once you get older, you start finding, subfields and whatnot. But I was really glad that, I found out what it was and did some digging into it. But as far as something overlooked, I will say, you know, when you bring up the term aliens to people, they always assume it's going to be intelligent life. And it's always sad to, you know, tell them like, no, it can mean microbial life as well. And as far as, you know, the research has gone so far, there are a ton of, you know, habitable planets out there. Now, the definition of habitable can vary, but there are a ton of habitable planets out there and Earth-like planets. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to find intelligent life on them or life at all. To be honest, the most common life that's probably out there is microbial life, but that doesn't mean that it isn't exciting to find it. And I feel like that's what people are, you know, looking over. Not, you know, astrobiologists, they're excited for everything, but I feel like the general public is overlooking the fact that even if we find microbes in, say, like a subsurface ocean or something, that's incredibly
Pretty cool.
exciting because it proves the point of us not being alone in the universe. And it also proves that there could be more out there as well, just, you know, different types of worlds. So I think the amount of possibilities are really interesting, and I'm really excited to see where this field goes. And James Webb is only going
Oh my
to
gosh, yeah.
show us so much more that we couldn't see before, and it's really, really exciting. So I'm glad like this is the time where I'm, you know, going to try to get involved in this field.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, just the thought of life, I know some people are like, oh, there's definitely no life. But I mean, you can't
Mhm.
just cross off the possibility. I feel like there's just
Exactly.
so much out there we just don't know. And the James Webb Telescope excites me greatly just to
Mhm.
see we're going to be like getting information about parts of the universe we just haven't known about before. So
Yeah.
I think that's just the limitless possibilities is really exciting. And I know
Mhm.
that you can relate with it.
Oh
Um,
yes.
yeah, and I do have to point out, I love your like space jackets, like
Oh, thank you.
like
I got it for Christmas. It's really, really cozy.
yeah. Is it cold up near Purdue?
Yes, it was snowing like just now. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, we had snow last week, but that's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, and you know, I know this is kind of a hard question for any researcher, but if you had to pick one project, what is the most exciting research project that you've ever worked on? Maybe it could be something you are working on right now or you have done in the past.
Mhm.
But I'm just curious, you know, what's the most exciting one you've worked on?
I would probably say the one I'm doing right now. It's kind of slow paced right now just because there's a lot of issues with the machine, but I work on something called an XOEDB. So
Oh,
we drop particles into it. I work with a master's student, so like it's his project that he's working on, but he wanted to mentor an undergrad, and um, Dr. Johnson said I would be a good fit, so I'm really glad. But we kind of, you know, drop different particles in there and try to capture them, and we use that information to, you know, discover things about different planetary atmospheres and all that. So that's really good. Um, there's a lot that goes into it, you know, circuit wise, and you know, it's a lot of electronics, but it definitely is really exciting what we can discover, especially once we capture particles, you know, what we can discover about the different clouds on those planets. It's really used for information about the clouds on the planets and, you know, different chemical compounds and stuff. So that's really exciting. I'm hoping, you know, the projects I applied for grad school are also really exciting. You know, both schools I applied to. So fingers
here's
crossed that one of them will, or both of them will see me as exciting. I did get an interview for one of them, so that's really, really
congratulations.
exciting. Yeah, thank you. It's on Wednesday, so
Good luck. You
let's
got
hope.
this.
Yeah, let's hope that goes well. Because then I think I'll pretty much be guaranteed to get in if that goes well. Um, but yeah, I would say that's the most exciting one besides the NASA one. Obviously, I feel like that's the pretty obvious answer is that one's the most exciting one. But besides that one, I would say the one that I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know definitely it's kind of hard to pick which project is your most favorite,
Mhm.
but usually it's the one you're currently working on because that's why you got
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I feel like a lot of times when I do interviews, there are, you know, people from various backgrounds and, you know, various different experiences. And so,
Mhm.
you know, as a woman in STEM, or maybe just, you know, not even as a woman in STEM, but just like as a person in the space industry, have you ever felt, you know, certain biases or stereotypes or any obstacles in general, not related to those, and, you know, just anything that you face, and how were you able to overcome those?
Mhm. Well, that is a really good question. Thankfully, my experience has not been really
That's
bad when it comes to that. in both of my majors, I would say I am pretty much one of the only people of color. Actually, in one of them, there's only one other girl. Yeah, I know. It's really sad. But that doesn't mean that, I haven't been treated with the utmost kindness. We have faculty that really care about the students, and if anything happens, whether it's sexism, racism, whatever, they will be the ones to deal with that and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So we have a very inclusive department, despite whatever statistics. I mean, that's only for the senior class. I haven't looked into the younger classes, but for the senior class, yeah, I'm one of two people of color. And the other one is also a woman of color. So two women of color. But like I said, that doesn't mean that my experience hasn't been really good. And I'm hoping that moving forward, when it comes to grad school and jobs and such, that it is the same way. Because I've heard a lot of stories on Twitter about people being mistreated because of the color of their skin or because of their gender, and just people making, snide remarks about them. And it's really unfair. And I hope that I want to be a part of the movement to end that, and have people be treated the same regardless of whatever background they have, because everybody is just as capable as, of succeeding. But it doesn't mean that racism and all that isn't out there. It is still out there. It's still an issue, especially in the STEM field. And there are a lot of really strong women in STEM to look up to that have proven to me that no matter what happens, you can still push through and kind of defy those odds and prove yourself as just as capable as any man.
Yeah, I think that was really powerful. And, thank you for saying that, because I
Yeah.
like to have heard so many people being like, oh, because I'm the only one in like a classroom, or I'm the only girl in the classroom, or like certain appearances. Like a lady I interviewed last time was saying she loves changing the color of her hair all the time. And she noticed that
Oh,
when she had blonde hair, people would treat her as not knowing as much when she had like a brunette or she had a
yeah,
different color hair. And people would just make those stereotypes, which is really shocking to hear in this day and age. But
it
I know
is.
we're definitely overcoming them. And there's so many powerful minorities and underrepresented
Mm-hmm.
communities who are now like stepping forward, which is so awesome to just see on social media and just
Mm-hmm.
in the real world. But yeah, of course, we still have a long way to go. So I appreciate you
We
bringing that to our.
do. And it's good I'm glad that people are sharing their stories on social media and directly calling out the people that said these things to them, or did anything that was a little suspicious, because you want those people to, you don't want to work with those people if you hear about stuff like that. That's um that was part of my grad school research, was to make sure that minorities and women and everybody was treated fairly in those programs. And thankfully I found two good programs which treated everybody with kindness and had statements on their websites saying that they um, care about diversity and all that stuff. So that really kind of influenced my decisions in grad school as well, because if you're going to work with someone for 5 or 6 years, you want to make sure that it's someone that truly cares and has your best interest in mind.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you were able to find those programs that
Mhm.
value diversity and are so open to sharing about it. And, let's just get to the aha moment of you getting into
Oh
the
yeah.
space industry. Like, what excited you about space? I mean, personally, for me, I haven't had anyone in my like direct life who's been a part of
Mhm.
the space industry. So for me, it's always been those movies, those questions, and
Mhm.
visiting the Air and Space Museum near my house. So there's different factors for everyone, and I feel like social media and movies and films have a huge impact. But I'm curious, what was your aha moment to getting into the space industry?
Yeah, so the first time I really learned about space was in my 6th grade Earth Science class. We had a unit about the planets, and I think I did a project on Saturn, because what kid doesn't like Saturn? I mean, the rings are so beautiful. But that was really when I was like, wow, this is something that I could really study for the rest of my life. So after that, it just, snowballed from there. And every time, we came home and park the car, I would just look up and see, a bunch of stars
Aw.
and the moon. Yeah, I would do that for a long time. I would look at the moon in the, car window, and it looked like it was following us back home, that type of stuff, little stuff like that. And it snowballed into buying books and watching videos, kind of gathering your own knowledge, because when you're passionate about something, you're going to study it before college. That doesn't mean you're going to be an expert in it, but you're going to get whatever knowledge you can just because of your own interest and curiosity. So, I bought Carl Sagan's books and watched a bunch of movies and videos, and that's how I learned about so many different questions about the planets that we have. That's how I learned about all the missions that we sent out there and what data they got. And my own curiosity has even led me to doing certain projects in college. Like one of my classes, Planetary Geology, we were able to choose a topic to do project on. It had to be related to geology somehow. And thankfully there was sort of an astrobio related project. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. And it was about the icy moons. And obviously the icy moons are locations of interest because they have huge potential for life. So that's how I did that. And that sparked me, that led me to doing a bunch of research on those. And now I know about the missions that are going to them and, so on and so forth. So it's really just one thing led to another. And it led me here to, majoring in it, hopefully getting a career in it down the line. So I am really glad that things turned out the way they did, because my family sees my passion and they're really proud of it, because, they came to this country to, give me a better life, just like every immigrant family. And they're really proud that I found something that I really click with and that I have had this passion for like a decade now.
Yeah, that's so sweet to hear. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just having that support system around you, your
Yes.
family, your friends, and just like social media out there just to support you. And I
Mhm.
can see your passion. It's like really just coming off the screen. I can see like you
Yeah,
have so many
thank
things you're
you.
interested in. And I think that's like the coolest thing ever. I think just being
Mhm.
able to freely just pursue what you love without fear, and
Mhm.
without like just overcoming those obstacles and finding that right environment for you, I think is
Mhm.
amazing. And just seeing so many role models, I know like, Sarisha, as when
Oh
she went
yes.
on, that was so inspirational, I'm sure, for a lot of,
Mhm.
Indian girls, especially
Oh
just having that
yes.
role model. I think, with, Dr. Cian Proctor being like the fourth African American
Mhm.
woman into space again, I think there's just so many amazing role models coming out now, and space is becoming more accessible with commercialization. And
Mhm.
that just excites me because it just inspires more people to be a part of this incredible industry.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and when you were talking, I noticed that you knew so many facts, kind of like right
Oh
slipping right
yeah.
out of your tongue. And that's hard. Being a student in school, obviously you're studying the major, but still just
Mhm.
keeping up with all of the advancements. How do you anticipate, those changes, and how do you keep up current with those, like with that knowledge and the skill? Like, how do you find the time to do that?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through social media like a lot, despite me saying like I am pretty busy, but I do dedicate time to, relax and enjoy, watch Netflix, do whatever. And part of that time is dedicated to just scrolling through Twitter, seeing what's up um, in the world of space exploration. And then I also go on Google and then I, see related stories, because Google kind of tailors your feed for whatever you search a lot. So since I search a lot of space stuff, that's what pops up in my feed. So usually a lot of the recent stuff comes up, whether it's a discovery or an upcoming mission that NASA's proposing or something like that. And I'm really glad. And so usually when I see stuff like that, I usually verify first. I have to verify because I don't want to tweet anything that's misinformation. And I've definitely done that before and apologized, deleted it, whatever, because people will correct me in the comments in a nice way, which is good. And so I'll usually be like, oh, this is actually incorrect. Let me delete it because I don't want to spread misinformation. And it's all a part of a, learning process. But yeah, so I usually see those stories. And once I verify that it is something that is true, I post it on Twitter, and get people to hear about it and get people excited, whether it's something really small or, something as huge as James Webb. I usually give people updates on James Webb, about its deployment because people are really excited about that. And a lot of people really like that. So it's just kind of something that I like to do and take some time out of my day to keep up with.
Yeah, and I can say, like, I love your Twitter page. Like, I think I said it like 4 times already.
It's okay.
But I truly am a fan. I mean, I just like, just as a student too, I understand how busy it can get. And
Yes.
sometimes just going to your like Twitter page and just learning
Mhm.
about everything, because I know,
Mhm.
like you always try putting out so much information. It's always engaging information too. It's
Thank
not like
you.
I'm reading a research paper, but it's something that I
Thank
learned
you.
from.
Yeah.
So genuinely fangirling right now, but I think that's so cool.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah. I need
it,
to sorry, I keep interrupting. Um I used to do the threads. I don't know if you read those, the ones that are on my blog and on my account. I need to do those again. I've been so busy that I just can't do them, but I really enjoyed doing them, because I could get what I would usually do is I'd put up a poll with like several questions that are like hypotheticals, really cool space type questions, like what if Earth orbited a black hole, or what if Earth had more than one moon, something really cool. And I get my followers to kind of choose between those questions, which ones they find really interesting. And then what I'll do is I'll research those, read articles, and write my own kind of blog post summarizing what I found, and obviously crediting information where credit is due. And that's just kind of how that is. And then I also turn it into a thread on Twitter because people like reading those. So I really enjoyed doing that. This is just, it's really what I like to do, is just spread this kind of information. And I really hope, in the future down the line, that aside from whatever research I'm doing, I want to have a science communication career, because I find that so fascinating, especially with the youth. I really want to like talk to kids about space and get them so interested, because they're so curious and they have such good questions that
Make
adults
you
may
like think.
see, yeah, adults may see them as dumb, but truly they are actual questions that scientists are probably looking into at this very moment, So I definitely want to have a science communication career, which is why I'm so glad that Twitter is a thing, that, everything, quite literally the stars align, and that happens. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I know you would be a great space communicator. I know, like, people like
Thank
Emily
you.
Calendula. I think I think that's how I
Mhm.
pronounce her last name.
I love
I
her.
love
Mhm.
her videos. I think just the way she
Mhm.
caters to students is awesome. I think space communication is essential
Mhm.
to get, more kids inspired. And so, taking all this knowledge that you have, what makes you excited and what makes you nervous for the future of the aerospace industry?
I'm definitely excited for I'm excited and, nervous about the actual commercialization of space, because
Mhm.
I want space to be more accessible to people. I want to get more women, more people of color up there, people that deserve to go to space, that have been wanting to go for a long time, but it's been difficult. But I'm also nervous about that, because people could take advantage of that, and I don't know. So that one's a tricky one, but I'm excited for that. But I'm also excited for so many of these upcoming missions. Like I mentioned, the Icy Moons one are so exciting, like the Europa Clipper, the Dragonfly, like all of these are really exciting, because we have never studied the, outer moons in depth, and they're such fascinating worlds that I think we're really going to find something interesting. And I know they're not going to launch for a while, but those are really interesting. And eventually, once we get missions to Uranus and Neptune, that's going to be super exciting, because we only have the Voyager flybys, which have given us really good data, but they were only
Yeah.
flybys, so they weren't super long missions that could really study them in depth. And there's so many questions about the outer reaches of the solar system that I really hope that once missions launch, like we're going to get so much information.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. I think just
Mhm.
like trying to see, like, I feel like even during the pandemic, it's been a tough time for all of us. There's been
Yeah,
so many scientific advancements,
there
especially with the
have.
space industry, which is
Yeah.
crazy, not only medically, but also just like in the space industry, so much has been happening. Like people have their masks on and they're
Mhm.
in there, the launch, they're in there and in NASA ready to launch things. And I think that's
Mhm.
amazing how we're able to create unity and through some form, whether it be space, even during this pandemic. And I think that says a lot about our community in the world. So thank you for
Yeah.
bringing this up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that we were able to overcome so many odds, because you would think that, oh man, there's a, global pandemic, so it's going to push back a lot of these things. I think James Webb being the big one, people were so nervous, like
Yeah.
what's it going to do to, that telescope. And despite all the odds, we were able to get it up last month, and that's incredible. People didn't think that was possible. A lot of people thought there's going to be so many more delays on that, and we were still able to get that up. We were able to land on Mars. Like, that was such a huge thing that happened like at the beginning of the pandemic. So much stuff is happening, and I am really excited for the future of space exploration. I think this is a really good time to be alive and be doing it. We're even going back to the moon, so that's
Artemis,
really exciting. Artemis, yeah. So I'm really excited for that too, because we were not alive during the Apollo mission. So, which I wish I kind of was, because that must have been so cool to turn on the TV and see man landing on the moon. So that is really exciting to be happening in our lifetime. We're going to see humans on another body, maybe Mars. I don't know about, I have strong opinions about that, but maybe, but definitely the moon, we're going to see humans on it.
Yeah, of course. What's so funny is I'm also applying to college right now, and one of the questions was, what historical moments would you wish you could have been a part of? And I said the Apollo mission, but then when I was writing it, I was like, you know what? I'm also going to be alive to see the Artemis mission, though, so I should talk about that too, because I'm not going to dwell on what I couldn't see, but what I can see as well, which is so exciting. I'm so excited for the Artemis mission.
Me too.
Yeah, and so my last and final question for you, now that we're able to learn a little bit about your interests, as well as, what got you fascinated by space, which I'm sure many young girls can relate to, which is, what final piece of advice would you give for young students? You're very young yourself, or maybe like middle school and high school students, something that you wish someone told you when you were their age?
I always say this one, and it is the biggest cliche, but seriously, do not give up. I don't know how many times I've thought about throwing in the towel. I've thought about, oh my God, maybe I don't belong here, because, everybody suffers from some form of imposter syndrome. So there were many times where I was like, maybe I don't belong here, whether it be a bad grade in a class, or, not performing well just in general, or not getting selected for something, and you see someone else get selected, you're like, maybe I don't belong here. But that's definitely not the truth. There are so many factors, that can influence those decisions, and you just have to pick yourself back up and keep on going, because I promise you the result will be worth it. And if this is something you're passionate about, please stick to it. Everybody needs you. They want you to succeed, and you definitely belong here despite what you tell yourself. There's so many times where I have to, essentially fight myself and say, like, hey, you're wrong. I do belong here, and I've contributed so much more than I think. So many people are looking up to me. So don't beat yourself up over a bad grade or getting rejected from something, because I promise you, everybody that's at NASA has had numerous rejections that they have just overcome and been able to, prove themselves through. So please don't give up. That's definitely my biggest piece of advice. I know people say it a lot, but coming from someone who has felt that pressure a lot, I actually have anxiety, and that definitely hinders me a lot, but sometimes it can be your friend, because you have to step back and say, you're wrong. That's not right.
I think that's incredible advice. There's the 3 words: never give up. I know we hear a lot of times, like you were saying, or we see it on social media, but we don't actually take it to heart and just,
internalize it. Yeah,
exactly. I think internalizing it is so important, and I'm going to definitely keep it with me. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. I know I had a great time speaking with you. I was looking at the time and I was like, oh my God, how did 30 minutes pass by already? It was so fun speaking with you today, and I can't wait to see all that you accomplish, and good luck on your next steps in your life. And hopefully the interview goes well on Wednesday.
Thank you.